How much does your metabolism decrease during a diet, and is starvation mode really a thing? Hey guys, I'm Daniel Richter, CEO of Strengthlog and a certified personal trainer. Today we got a question from David who wants to know how much does your metabolism decrease during a diet? So when we diet, our metabolism does decrease, and for several reasons. The three big ones are because of a lower body weight, because of less activity, and because of a general decrease in resting metabolic rate. So first off, lower body weight. When you are dieting, if you are successful, your body weight is gonna decrease, which means two things. One, you're gonna have less mass that requires energy, so your energy requirement is gonna decrease, and you have less mass to move around, so it costs less energy to move your body around, which is also gonna decrease the amount of energy you need. Therefore, the further you get into diet and the lighter you get, well, the lower your daily calorie requirement is going to be. And number two, less activity. When we've been dieting for a long time and we've been in a big deficit for a long time, we tend to get more lazy, consciously or subconsciously. And this can be reflected in, for instance, your workouts. Maybe you don't have the energy to do as long and intense workouts as you used to do before. Maybe you take a little fewer steps every day unless you really monitor them hard. And maybe you're even more prone to skipping workouts or skipping activities. But it's important to distinguish that this doesn't only have to do with your discipline and your routines, because you might become less active in more sneaky ways. When you have less energy, you might be more inclined to stay on the couch instead of, getting up and doing the dishes. You might be more inclined to sit and read a book or watch TV instead of going for a walk. So many little things, small things that might add up to a lower energy requirement. It might be as simple as maybe when you are sitting at your desk, you move around your feet more when you're not in diet. But when you've been dieting for a long time, all of that activity is just shrunk. So you're more still in general, both in your workouts, but also in all of your non-exercise activities. And then for the third point, which is what I gather David's question is really about, how much does our constantly ongoing basal metabolisms decrease? Because they do decrease. So starvation mode is a real thing, just not maybe to the extent that some people seem to believe, that if you were to starve completely you wouldn't lose weight. That's not what happens. But your energy requirement and your metabolism is flexible. So if you eat less than you need, and for an extended period of time especially, your basal metabolism is gonna decrease because your body is trying to save in on energy. One example for women is that if they don't get enough calories, their menstruation cycle is going to shut down, and that costs about 100 to 150 calories every day. Obviously that doesn't happen in men, but both men and women see a decrease in their basal metabolic rate when they have been on a diet for a long time. So there's been a bunch of studies where they have measured the decrease in metabolism in physique and fitness athletes. So people who are trying to build a lot of muscle but lose their fat and get ready for competition or they're standing on stage. And one thing about this demographic is that they generally already have a fairly low body fat, and they diet into an even lower body fat, and they usually do so over long periods of time, staying in a caloric deficit. So the decreases we might see in this population are probably bigger than you would see in an average Joe, like in an average dude like you or me who is trying to look a little bit better. Or I don't know about you, maybe you're Mr. Olympia or something. Anyway, the decreases seen in physique competitors getting stage ready, they ranged anywhere from 9% decrease in basal metabolic rate to 47% decreases. So that's a huge gap, and it depends not only on the individual and their genes, but also on how long they've been dieting, how big a deficit, and how low body fat percentage they are going down to. An example of a much smaller decrease in metabolism comes from a study on physique competitors who were just doing their first initial 7 weeks dieting. They only decreased their metabolism by 4% on average. So when you are in the beginning of a diet and you haven't been in a deficit that long, your decrease in metabolism isn't going to be as when you've been dieting for months or half a year, or if you're really starving yourself. That is when you might see those big drops in metabolism, and where you might also get really less active and more inclined to just stay indoors and do nothing at all. So your metabolism does decrease, but how much is going to depend on many factors. Once again, not in the least on your genes, because this varies between people. Put a bunch of people on the same caloric deficit, and some people might decrease their activity to almost match that deficit, while some people's activity levels aren't affected at all. Same thing when you're overeating. If you start overeating a bunch of calories, some people are gonna just ramp up their activity to almost match that surplus of calories, while other people are just gonna be as inclined to stay on the couch, no matter the extra calories. So if you are on a diet and you wanna combat this decrease in metabolism, what you need to do is to, well, count your calories, check the scale, measure your waistline, and if your body weight or your waistline ain't moving down or going down over time, well, then you probably need to decrease your caloric intake further or increase your caloric expenditure by being more active, taking more walks or whatever. And you should especially make sure that it's fat you're losing and not muscle by regularly strength training all your major muscle groups. And a great way to do that is to track your training in our free workout tracker app StrengthLog, which will show you statistics on which muscle groups you have worked and how much. All right, hope that helps and you learned something. Thank you for watching, and train hard, eat well, die anyway.